Hi, my name is Lisa. Welcome to episode 56 of the GrowCast show. Today on episode 56, I'm with Damien Tham, swimming coach at Swimming Adventures. Hi, Damien. Welcome to the
Hello.
GrowCast show.
Thank you.
All right. So what does being better than normal mean to you?
I would say being open to criticism, especially from children, because they are very honest people. They don't mask their words very well. So being open to them actually makes you feel, for an adult perspective, it will make you feel like you know better than them. But actually when the kids are telling you something, they mean well, so they don't lie. So that when you just need to, as an adult, you need to learn how to extract the content that's coming from them and then learn from them actually. So children are actually a very big pool of knowledge. It's just we need to know how to extract all the whatever that they are saying to your own, or rather I would say in your own benefit lah.
And is that what makes you better than normal?
I would say it makes me want to be better than what I currently am yesterday. So I don't want to be, of course I cannot stagnant all the way. So things have to change along the way, especially when kids are always changing. So I'm comparing it kids 10 years ago and 10 years now into the future. They behave very differently. So we have to adapt accordingly.
Can you share a bit about your background and what led you to become a swim coach?
Okay, so actually my dad is a swimming coach himself. So I've been swimming since 2 years old. Apparently that's what they said lah. So they did show me a photo that I was in the water and he was teaching me swimming. So as I grew older, I was with my dad, and then up to I think the age 14 or 15, I joined the competitive swimming for a while, and then I didn't really like it. So I stopped swimming, I think for a good 6-7 years until after army. So I went out to work for a year and a half. So 1 year in, I was thinking to myself, the office environment, it's very crowded in a sense where I don't get a lot of sunlight. So I went to work part-time as a swim coach when I was having a full-time job. So I think half a year later I decided, I think I was just going to be a full-time coach myself.
How did you develop your unique coaching philosophy that focuses on happiness and laughter?
Okay, personally, I'm actually a very childish person when I'm around kids. So when I'm actually around kids, they somehow or rather they open up to me a lot. So I realized this was actually my strong point. So that's why I went into swimming in the first place. So when I'm teaching a kid a new kind of skill, they would somehow or rather open up to me and tell me that, this is something that I'm very uncomfortable with. I'm afraid to do this, I'm afraid to do that. But of course, if I'm coming from a coach standpoint, my job is to reassure them that, nothing's going to happen to them. They are going to be, they're going to be safe. We're going to get through this difficulty that they're going to have. So I think that's why I'm into this industry itself entirely lah.
And how do you define success in your role as a swim coach?
I would define success as when the kids tell me that they're doing something outside of school where it's applicable in lessons. So in a sense where usually I tell the kids that if you cannot do it, never mind, we just try. So this is like one of the things that I always tell all my students, or when they have something that they cannot do, I always tell them to whisper to themselves that, I can do it, and then they just do this hand pumping action. So there are a few students that came to me and told me that in their exams they couldn't do something, and then they said that, I remember Coach Damien tell me I cannot do, never mind, just try first. Wrong, never mind. Or they were in some, I still remember there was this kid that was telling me he was having this track and field thing lah. Then he knew he was going to get last place or something. Then he was telling himself, I can do it. So I would define my success as that, influencing them to use whatever that I've been telling them outside of swimming, not just swimming itself.
What inspired you to prioritize fun and laughter in your swimming lessons?
Okay, because since like I said earlier, I'm a very childish person. So I myself, I believe that when the kids are in an environment that is very comfortable for them and they are having fun, the input that they get, or rather they can receive better input from any authority figure. So I think it's very important that when the kids they're learning something that in an environment that they are very uncomfortable with at first, and when add in the fun element, they respond well, a lot more better when, rather than you stand there, you got to do it, all that kind of stuff. So when I incorporate all this into my lessons, the kids tend to learn a little bit faster. I wouldn't say they learn very fast, but because this one, it varies according to different kind of children. Some kids learn faster, some kids learn slower, but in general, it's more important that the kids feel comfortable, so that basically that's why I add the fun inside. I mean, it's easier for me also, so I don't feel so stressed up all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important quality that a swim coach should have?
Patience. You need a lot of patience.
Dealing with kids.
Yes, you need a lot because first is because the class itself is a group class. So you have children of different behaviors. Some are easily influenced. Some are they're the leaders of the class. So you need to balance out. So when there are days that some kids they're not feeling very good at a particular day. So for a coach itself, because basically our job is we need the kids to learn how to swim. But actually on the smaller side of things, we need to learn how to manage their emotions. We need to manage their behaviors and that kind of stuff. So it takes a lot of patience to deal with different kids that are some very extrovert, some very introvert. So I think really is patience.
How do you introduce new skills to children during your swim class that feels fun and engaging?
Okay, so usually the most important one is how I get it would be putting a game into a new stroke that they need to learn. Like for example, they need to hold the board to start swimming without touching the wall. So I'll tell them if you now we only let you touch the wall for 5 times, so now you got 5 points. If you touch the wall 6 times, means you got 0 point. Means today your score is the lowest. So because these are things that it sounds very childish to an adult, but for kids they tend to get very competitive among themselves. Like within themselves they get very competitive. I want to get full points. I want to get all this. So when they do it already, it gets them to that skill a lot faster because they're not focusing on getting that skill. They're focusing on getting the points itself. So although it's like walking 2 different paths but converging at the same place again. So I get the kids to focus on the game. But meanwhile, what I'm actually focusing on is getting them to do that particular skill. So the kids don't get too overwhelmed with it. Yeah.
That sounds fun. I remember when I was learning swimming lessons, I remember my teacher being very unpleasant and very fierce. So it's nice that you make it fun.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the older, our older times, the coaches, they are very rigid.
Yeah.
That's why. So that's why I want to make this change for the kids that do come to me.
Yeah. What strategies do you use to help children feel comfortable in the water and build trust with you?
Okay, there are multiple things that I usually do, but the most common one would be letting them jump in the water. Because for a kid that they see the water, the first instinct is they want to jump in the water. For those that are not scared. So for those that are scared, they'll tend to sit down, but they still want to go into water. So actually getting them to jump is like the fastest way to get them to learn how to swim. Because swimming itself, if you've seen, 90% of the time your head is always in the water. So that's actually the very first skill that they need to learn. So jumping, instead of me bringing the water to them, the water will go to them instead, because basically gravity will just pull them down instead of me forcing them down. So when they are jumping, they get very happy. I mean, sometimes there are kids that get super overly excited. So again, we need to manage all these kind of small little things that are it's quite draining to be honest sometimes. So you really, really need to be able to manage the entire spectrum of emotions that all the kids have.
How do you make sure that every child in the class, because it's a big group, how do you make sure they all feel included in the class?
Usually, I will let them talk to each other, because I do know that some people, they don't really like in a very generic classroom setting, it's like no talking, all that kind of stuff. But for my class, I would let the kids talk. Even to me, they will tell me about their day and all that kind of stuff, and the other kids will tell me that like they have this new thing like Pokemon. They will just talk among themselves. So it just fosters this closeness among the entire class itself. So when a certain kid cannot do something, their friends would cheer them on. So it makes everybody feel very included. So I would say really just let them talk. Let them be in, basically just create a safe space for them, so that they don't feel like I'm just coming for class, I'm going to clock the 45 minutes and I'm just going to go home. Yeah.
That's nice. What do you think is the number one misconception that parents have about sending their kids to swimming classes?
This one, I would say learning within the first month, because that one I would say is really not possible at all, because there's a lot of different things that lead up to a child being able to swim independently. Like I said earlier, getting the head into the water is one thing, exhaling is another. kicking is another skill set, moving the hands is another skill set, and then clumping all these skill set together into one, it's also another set of things that you can do. But usually the time frame, or rather my time frame, would be they would need at least 6 months to maybe 10 months. So of course, along the way, there is some progression that I will tell the parents about. That, your kid is currently at this level, what can you do to be involved so that they can learn faster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you measure the progress of the child beyond just their swimming skills?
How do I measure? I would say actually it's just really getting them to practice. But there are some kids that they anyhow practice one. They just do. So I would say it's really just purely practice. But of course, it has to be a very objective kind of practice, because if you just keep getting them to do the same thing over and over again, right, and then it's just wrong. So if they start at the start they do wrong, right, it'll just be wrong all the way, and then it becomes a habit already. So basically it's just focusing on one error at a time, because there are what I know that some people, they just focus on all the mistakes, like, oh, you cannot do this at one go. But actually the kids cannot register all this. So you just need to tell them, like, okay, now you don't do this. And then you slowly minus off little bit at a time, so that the kids can feel that, oh, I'm making some progress, and I'm learning well enough, so that we don't scold them. Just let them do the mistakes that you're not focusing on first. Then you just slowly cut down from there. Yeah.
How do you incorporate play into your lessons without compromising the lessons?
Oh, this one is a very fine line. I would say this one is really, there are times that you need to be strict. There are times that you can let the kids play. So usually when you can sort of tell when the kids are getting very overwhelmed with the strokes itself, they start to get very restless and all that, right? And then that's where I'll let go a little bit. I say, you all want to jump in the water, you want to basically just trash around in the water, I let you be. Just go and do whatever you all want to do. And I let them distress a little bit first. And then I will usually, the kids, I will always tell them that, that there will be a time that I'll say, okay, let's do this. And then the kids will be, okay, let's go, let's do this. And then after a certain amount of time, they know that I will relax a little bit. And then that's where they will just let out whatever tension that they have inside them. So for me, although it's not swimming lesson is not about learning the specific skill, but actually you need the kid to be in a very relaxed state of mind for them to absorb whatever that you are saying. So it cannot be a full entire lesson of just me drilling the kids, because it will never work one, I feel.
It won't be enjoyable for the kids.
Yeah, it won't be enjoyable. And then it also won't be enjoyable for the parents, because when they say, okay, let's go for swimming class, and then they'll be crying and say, I don't want to go, I don't want to change. And then the parents get very annoyed, and then in the car they'll be screaming at each other. Basically, it's just an unpleasant journey from home all the way to the pool, and then for the lesson throughout for the kids itself. So yeah, I think having this it's very important for the well-being of the kid, and it makes their mother happy also.
Okay. Interesting that you said mother, not father, but
yeah, actually mothers are more protective of their kids.
I see.
Yeah, so when it comes to swimming itself, right, because swimming is the water is a very dangerous element. So usually mothers tend to be more cautious when the kids, especially when they cannot swim, they get very close to the kids. So yeah, also of course I will tell the moms that it's okay to let them play dangerously, like let them be where they are. But of course there are safety measures that I keep into place to make sure that when they are playing, right, if anything happens, nothing will happen to them basically. I have a fail safe just in case something's happened, so I know what's going to happen. You can tell it's very obvious when something's going to happen.
Yeah. How do you create a safe and supportive environment in your classes?
I let the kids make mistakes. Okay. Very important, because if you scold the kids for making a mistake, they will just be okay. So I had this student, whenever he transferred to me from another person. So whenever he made a mistake, he would stop and then he would turn and look at me. He was expecting me to reprimand him on something that he did. So of course it took time for me to actually let his guard down. So I was telling him, it's okay for you to make any mistakes. It happens. Even I also make mistakes. So the kids needs to know that even us coaches make mistakes, but we need to allow the kids to make the mistake for them to actually learn. So for my classes itself, whenever the kids make the mistake, I will not scold them, but I would rather ask them, what do you think you do wrongly? And then when the kid can tell me the mistakes that they did, to me, this is how they really learn. Because It's more like they discover that, oh, this is something that I'm doing wrongly. So consciously, they will go and correct it themselves rather than I hold and say, this is the correct way. Then you do it for them. So I would rather let the kids discover that this is a mistake that they're doing. You fix it. But of course, I'll guide them along the way.
Yep. What are some unique techniques that you use to build a kid's confidence in the water?
Oh, unique techniques. I would say really getting them to go through this self-discovery phase. So I would tell them like, okay, when I'm doing a certain skill with them, I say, okay, this like number 1, number 2, number 3. And I say, if you never do these 3, it means you do something wrongly. But usually the kids will always commit a certain kind of, it's just a very fixed set of mistakes. So I would tell them, they will go and do it. So when they do it at the time, I know what the mistakes that they're doing. So I ask them, okay, which one do you think you do wrongly? And then they will sit there and think for a little while. So because when they are thinking, they are really thinking because they will start to think that, okay, when I'm doing this, what did I do wrong? And when they can tell me, this is where I know that it's something that I need to address on because this is a certain thing that they keep on making the same mistakes over and over again. But of course, they need to be comfortable enough to tell me that because if they don't tell me, then they don't learn. It's really like, it's not an easy thing for the child to tell you that I did it wrongly because for kids, they are afraid generically. They are very scared to say that they do something wrongly. So whenever I do something wrongly, I'll just tell the kids, oh, sorry, I said something wrongly. So even the kids will kind of correct me and say, hey, coach, just now you say swim back. What? Now, how come you ask me walk back now? Then, it's like this kind of thing. Then I'll just say, oh, sorry, I remembered wrongly. So I need the kids to mirror what I'm saying and I have to be very consistent with what I'm saying because once I'm not consistent, right, then, the kids will start to point out. So of course, like I say, we really need to learn from the kids. They are very honest one. They don't lie.
Yeah. How do you handle children who have a fear of water and a fear of swimming?
I would say introduce them slowly. We shouldn't be carrying them in the water. So for me, I have a step, or rather, it's actually a quite common thing to do. It's just the delivery of it. So it's just telling the kids that, the first step, how just wearing the back floats. And then the second step is let's just sit down and rather sit or stand, whichever they choose, by the water itself. So of course, this is a very painstaking process because you need to slowly entice the kid to come in the water. So the time actually when they will really scream is when they actually go into the water. So of course, as a parent, you will tend to get a bit freaked out because you see your kid screaming so much. But of course, it's also the coach's job not to just reassure the kid, but also reassure the parent that, nothing's going to happen to your kid. I'm not going to drown them. I'm just going to introduce them in the water and then I'll just put them back up. And then we say, you see, it was very easy. We're going to do that again, but we will do that for like maybe 3 seconds. And then I'll just slowly up the duration up to 10 seconds. So as time move along, these are those that are super scared one. They just see the water and see me, they cry. So that's for those that are very, very scared. So for those that are afraid of swimming, I would say introduce them activities that are comfortable to them first, like just holding the wall and moving along the wall. That's just one activity. Or just holding the ball and just floating around me. That's also another activity that they can do. So it's just more making the kids feel more water confidence. They feel more confident inside the water after a longer period of time where they are not holding on to something like that is very strong, like a wall or even myself. So of course the parents play a part as well because if the kid is inside the water and then they see the parent, they're definitely going to choose the parent, they're not going to choose me. So of course I would tell the parent politely that, if possible, go somewhere that your kid cannot see you but you can see them. Because as a parent myself, I know how it feels when you drop your kid off to a stranger and then you moving off and then you see your kid crying and screaming. So I know how overwhelming that feeling is coming from a parent myself. So usually there is parent education that comes into play when the kids are taking lessons, especially for the first time. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember my swimming coach used to just like push me in the water.
I think that's a very unhealthy approach. Those is like, it's either you float or you don't float.
Yeah, sink or swim, right?
Yeah, it's either you sink or swim. Then I feel it traumatizes the kids a lot. Then after that, they see you already, then the first thing they're going to do is, they start crying again. And then the entire cycle of unpleasantness starts again. So yeah, I think unhealthy.
What role does a parent's involvement play in a child's swimming progress?
I would say reinforcing what the coach has done with the kids. So for me, usually when the parents do have time to, or rather I have time to talk to the parents, I'll just tell the parents that, since now your kid already can swim and he can do it without the float, I will always preempt the parent that the worst case scenario, like, your kid's going to drink water, or the most common one is the kids learning how to put the head in the water and then they accidentally inhale water in. And usually these are times where parents would start to overreact. Okay, I wouldn't say overreact, but reacting in a very expected response where they, are you okay? That kind of stuff. Because such thing actually scares the kid because the kid see the mother so scared or the father so scared, and then they were even more scared. So of course I tell the parent that, if you can, or rather what I do is when that happens in my class, I will either tell the kids that, you became an elephant, or is it very thirsty, you're going to drink the entire swimming pool. So when I substitute this kind of fear with laughter and this thing happens again, they will automatically think of that joke and then they laugh it off. So it's a lot better for them rather than I freak out and say, oh no, are you okay? No, you shouldn't have done this. And then because I'm just pushing them towards a direction where they will laugh instead of cry, because it's a lot easier to make someone laugh than cry lah. I mean for kids lah.
Yeah. What do you think is the most rewarding part about working with young swimmers?
Okay, it sounds very weird, but when the kids throw temper when they cannot come for lesson.
Okay.
Okay, why I say this is because they enjoy coming to class, and it makes me feel that I've done my job well enough that the kids like to come to swim. So of course, with that feeling that they come for lesson, this kind of happiness, they learn a lot faster. The parents are happier as well. So there's no tug of war going on. Like I want to go, I don't want to go, that kind of stuff. So I feel that this is what makes me very happy, especially when the kids, or even when they just learn how to swim for the very first time and they get very happy. Then I also be very happy because this is something that I'll feel like, oh, I finally done it. That, this kid finally, after 7-8 months, finally can swim already. Or even some kids simply just putting the head in the water, they get very excited and then they start screaming to them, mommy, see, take video. So these are things that actually make me feel very happy that the kids are willing to scream out loud and they're just very happy basically.
How do you encourage the children to practice swimming outside of their lessons?
Okay, so I do have a few keywords that I will usually tell the kids, like just putting the head in the water and blowing bubbles. I'll just say, close your mouth and say, in the water. But some kids, they get very hesitant to do this. So again, I substitute with a joke. You cannot too hard, if not, the poo-poo will come out. That kind of little things. Then the kids will just keep laughing. So it just reminds them that, coach asked me to do this. And then they're just thinking, oh, coach, mommy, doesn't the coach say cannot too hard? Then the mother will ask why. And they say, oh, coach, later my poo-poo come out. These kind of little things that the kids will surely remember because it's very nonsensical.
Yes.
So they will know that this specific skill they have to do at a certain kind of strength. Or even when they kick, right, then like some kids, they don't understand what's bending your knees because it can be too technical as well. So I'll ask them like, how Spider-Man squat down? I'm like, like that. So it's like this kind of tiny little things that is very child relevant, where I will tell the parents that, okay, this is the skill that they learn. This is the thing that I tell them. You just ask them to do accordingly, and then this is the expected result that you should see. If you don't see it, never mind. Just ask them to do again. Next lesson, I will go and correct it again. So usually when it comes to parents' involvement, it's just tiny little things. Even the parent cannot swim also, never mind. I'll tell the parent, maybe you stand like 2-3 meters away from them. Ask them to jump to you, and it doesn't really matter. So you don't need to really know how to swim to teach your child how to swim, because it's just like little bite-sized information you can just reinforce with the kids.
Yeah. I see that you have something over there, the progress booklet.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain to us how this progress booklet works?
Okay, so basically this booklet itself, it's not a new thing per se.
Yeah,
but
you can show it to the camera.
Yeah, so basically it's just a progress chart of where the kids will be learning. Like example, they have this thing called Beginner 1. So it's just the basic skills that they can do. And then as they go on, of course, there's some dates that I will put. So the reason for this date is because I need the parents to also understand that I'm just seeing them once a week and it's only a 45-minute lesson. And I mean, of course, I'm saying that this is definitely more than enough, but they need time to slowly absorb all this stuff. So what parents will receive is they will receive this entire booklet itself, and then I will grade them every 2 months. So as they go on, the parents also can see that, these are the few things that they will learn, like for example, learning the breaststroke arm and pushing themselves up. Like this one specific skill itself, it requires an amount of strength where sometimes some kids don't have. So maybe they need a little bit more time to go through this. So maybe like skill 3, skill 2, skill 3, skill 4, they can do. It's just that they're stuck at skill number 1. So of course, there are things that I will do to try to get them to do that specific skill itself. So parents will know that, these are the things that my kids are learning, and these are the things that my kids will learn next time. So of course, this idea actually came, it didn't really came to me, but because after I had my kid, then I was sending her for classes. Then I realized that, wow, I also don't know what I'm sending her for. Then I also think that, okay, maybe if I'm providing a service to kids, the parents also will definitely want to know, because when last time, of course, because my dad teach me so I realized that all we do is the kids will jump in the water. End of the day, the parents will ask, tired or not? Kids say yes, it means I got learn something.
I see.
Yeah, so that I feel that there's this gap as now we come into this time, this era itself. Parents
So that
want
is
to be
that is how you came up with the idea.
yeah. So parents want to be more involved. Like, what can I do for the kids? What should I say? Or what they're going to learn next? Or what's the runway of them learning?
Okay. What kind of information does the progress booklet include?
Okay, it includes basically there's 3 to 4 skills that they will learn.
Yep.
So like maybe putting their full head in the water, that is a specific skill by itself. Blowing bubbles with the nose, that's another skill by itself. So all these skills basically it's just one, you have to do the entire thing, and then the prerequisite to go to 2, you just have to finish all 1, and then it slowly goes on to the next. So this entire booklet, when they finish it, they will be able to swim independently by themselves. So as the kids go on to the next stage, of course, this one is also very, very good for the kids, because the kids will be like, hey, wow, mommy, you see, I can do this. I left one more only. So it motivates them in a way that you don't really need to use words. You just say, hey, see, you left like that only. Then after you finish already. Then we're like, then the kids say, oh, yeah, okay. So kids, they are very, actually kids, more or less, they're very driven one.
Yeah.
You don't really need to push them too hard. You just show them something, and then when they get it already, they'll be like, wow, yes, I want more. So I try to use this as a leverage when I'm teaching the kids. But of course, some kids don't really feel that competitive, then that's where the fun and games come in.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you think the progress booklet benefits both parents and children?
Like I say, parents wise, then they will be more they will be able to manage their expectations more, because I do know that sometimes when it might be the kids that are not strong enough yet, so the parents will be drilling the kids a bit too much and say, why you cannot swim? Why I told you this already, you still cannot understand, that kind of stuff. So when they have this kind of booklet, the parents can actually see that, my kid is actually lacking this, and then this is where they can communicate with the coach and say that, what can I do at home, make my kid learn a little bit faster. So I would say this is a gap between the coach and the parents. Yeah.
How do you update the progress booklet and ensure it reflects each child's up-to-date achievement? Okay,
so this is done every 2 months. So at the end of the 8th lesson itself, of course, because these are my students, I know exactly what level are they at. So because as this one, since the parents is going to bring the books itself, there are some parents that might forget to bring. Of course, I will count that into my head. So I will go and remember. Really have to go and remember. So basically, I have my own book also. I'll just write the kid's name. Okay, no, this kid can do this what specifically. But because I've been seeing them for the past 8 lessons, and as a coach, we must remember that this kid can do this, or this kid cannot do this and that. So usually at the 8th month, for even parents that don't bring the book, it's fine, because I can send them a soft copy and say, your kids can do beginner 1, finish already, very good. Now go to number 2, then I'll send them number 3 also. So the parents will know, okay, this is the next thing that they're going to do, and this is the thing that they're stuck at. Yeah.
How do you handle a situation when a child's progress might not meet a parent's expectations?
Okay, this is really towards parents' education, because like let's say there's this kid, I thought he couldn't really do a breaststroke kick because he had very tight inner muscles. So I was telling the mom that, he will have trouble doing it because he doesn't have that flexibility to do it. So the parents were asking me like, what, then how? Because it's learned so long already, why still cannot do? Say everyday stretch. You just sit down there, do the butterfly, one day do 10 times. Then that's where the parents will be able to accept more, because it's an alternative action that allows the kid to reach to the objective that they want. So of course the parent really followed through because if the parents ask me these kind of things, more or less they are very involved already. So when I tell the parent, do certain things, then they will really follow through, and after a while the kid really can swim already. Now he's still my student. So parents are happy. Then it's also the coach's job to manage the parents' expectation. But of course the expectation comes from, now put it bluntly, I'm going to pay you teach my kid how to swim. But the coach's job is also to make sure that the parent knows what the kid is exactly doing during that lesson. So like this one. Yeah.
I'm curious, how do you address behavioral issues and disruptions in your swim class?
Okay, so actually when the kids come for the trial lesson, I will always explain to the parents, there will be times that I will time out the kids when either they get too excitable or they start bullying people, which that happens actually very often. Like the kids, sometimes they push someone into the water, or when they swim halfway, then they pull the person's leg. There's just a lot of different kind of scenarios. So I'll tell the parents that, as long as it's concerned safety, I will scream, because things happen. But if it's like being rude and everything, I will just tell the kid that, this is very rude. You're gonna have a timeout for 1 minute, or something along that line. So the kids will just sit there and say, I don't want. There's no choice that you have to sit there because you didn't behave properly. So parents I have to tell the parents beforehand first that this is how I conduct my class. So all the kids will feel safe. Because if there's somebody that is always disrupting the class, it's not going to be beneficial for everybody. So the control has to be there as a coach. So timeout is like the worst case I've ever done is sending a kid home because it was super, super disruptive, but the parent understood because I made it very clear from day one that if the kids is disrupting, like taking the boards, throwing all over the place, all the way, all inside the water, and then taking people's float away, all that kind of stuff, is very disruptive for me. So I'll tell the parent, no, sorry, I really got to send your kid home because it's just not beneficial for the rest of the kids. So the parents understood, and then they brought him home and basically do their own thing lah.
How do you handle a situation where a child is struggling with learning a specific swimming skill?
I jump to another skill.
Okay.
So let's say breaststroke itself, they got the coordination wrong. So there's this thing that kids get very fatigued. Even for us, when we do the same thing over and over again and we keep on getting stuck, it's very frustrating for you as a person. So imagine how much more frustrating it is for a child, because for them they don't really know how to express frustration. They just get very irritated and then they'll lash out in some other ways. So usually what I do is, you cannot swim on the front, then swim on the back. Then I'll just do the other stuff and then I'll just jump back to it again. So I'll just keep jumping through and left and right. So when the kids realize that, hey, actually it's very, after a while they realize that, oh, actually it's very easy. Then I say, no, it's okay that you do it wrongly, but we'll just do other things first. If you want to try again, we can try again. So usually, let's say I was teaching this kid how to dive in the water and she really couldn't do it and she was really crying a lot because she was just very frustrated lah. So I told her that, how about we do other things first. So instead of me getting her to dive in the water, I told her, how about now you swim, right? You hold your breath and swim. You see how far you can go. Then you count how many square you do. So instead of me telling her to hold your breath, which honestly it doesn't benefit anybody. It's like I'm just telling you walk. It's not going to help you. So I told the kid, how about you count the square on the wall? You tell me how many you count. So if you can count until 10, right, it means you can hold your breath longer. And then this is where the kid, okay, then they do it. So it's just me putting their attention to something else rather than just keep focusing on the thing that they cannot do. I say, must hold longer. But the kid, clearly they cannot do it one. So instead of that, just ask them, go count the square, count the bird, whatever there is. Yeah.
How do you adapt your teaching approach for children who are less socially inclined?
It comes down to the tone of my voice. For kids that are very loud and everything, they respond very well to loud people. Like, oh yeah, let's go, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to quieter kids, I do have students that don't talk to me one. Like after 2-3 years, then he finally talked to me kind. So those kinds are the ones that I will talk very, very softly. Like, I will just hold their hand and okay, come look at me. Maybe now let's do this, let's do that. So sometimes some kids don't like physical contact as well. So it's just me purely looking at them and say, okay, are you able to do this? Are you able to do that? It's either they nod their head or they shake their head. So it really depends on the child's energy level. Yeah.
What impact do you hope to have on the swimming community in Singapore?
I hope to have at least a student that can go and compete. But I won't be the one teaching them because I'm not very well versed in the competitive format. But if I can hold the kids' interest all the way until they say, Coach, I want to go for competitive, I think that will be very good. But of course, hopefully the method that I do whether it's respectful to the kids, being fun with the kids, I hope this one spreads among all the other coaches, because honestly the industry itself, we are quite old. There's a lot of old people in this industry, so hopefully more young people come in and then we can spread this kind of, I would say, positive reinforcement to the children, so that hopefully we can have more swimmers best go and compete for Singapore.
Like grooming the next new Joseph Schoolings, basically.
Hopefully lah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Okay. What impact do you hope to have on your students' lives beyond just their swimming skills?
So it's the same phrase as I mentioned earlier. Getting them to say, if you cannot do it, just try it. So or just telling yourself you can do it. It's basically just reinforcing yourself, giving yourself more confidence every day. So be it whether they don't swim, that one doesn't matter already, because when they go out and do something that there will always be a time when they go out and do something that they're not comfortable with, but they have to do it. So hopefully this phrase that I have for them resonates with them all the way until they are old, and hopefully becomes part of their character so they don't give up very easily, because I know now some kids, they give up quite fast one. So hopefully this one would change their mindset, because they're still young, so it's very easy for us to mold them.
How would you like to be remembered by your students and your parents?
Fun.
Okay.
Just purely fun. Because I don't want, if everybody, last time for people our age, we had swimming classes. The first thing you can remember is, last time I go swimming class, I always cry. So it's not a nice memory to have. So I hopefully when the kids reach to my age, they can remember, hey, last time I got this coach, very funny one. He always just make us laugh one. So best is if I hear this 20, 30 years down the road, I'm going to be very, very happy. Yeah.
That's nice. Thank you so much, Damien.
Thank
It was
you.
so nice to have you on the GrowCast show today. And this is Lisa Marie, episode 56 of the GrowCast show with Damien Tham, swimming coach from Swimming Adventures. Thank you.
Thank you.